Okay, we have 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I so moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Let's say pledge allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Yep, public comment, number 4 there. Mute myself, it does that, so.
I can hear you good now.
You can hear? Okay. It
Perfect.
fixed itself somehow. All right, we hear you, Tom. Go ahead.
Yes, I've got a comment on the meetings from February 15th. It stated that I was there and made public comment. I was on the agenda. I was the same as the people with the library boards asking for funding. I was asking to eliminate or stop the wasting of material and money for unnecessary blading of the roads. I responded. I wrote an email what I had sent to Supervisor Clark. I read her response. I stated that was incorrect information. That was not a true statement about a house being built and heavy traffic. There is no house constructed as of today. I suggested putting cameras in the machines so these statements would not be made, or if they were made, they would immediately be discredited. But as far as what is in the minutes, that doesn't state any specifics that I stated, and it would lead anybody reading the minutes as if I spoke during the public comment. I had facts. It said Tom Wagner believed. No, I had facts on gradations, sieve analysis that had been ran on material from the roadway, and the gradation that was supplied by the county engineer. Those are facts, not a belief. And I also requested, or I stated, I was surprised the engineer did not have an hourly cost of the operational cost of motor graders. And I requested that needs to be clarified. It needs to be made public information. And I did send Judy an email this afternoon about that statement. A house was built there on 170th Street, or excuse me, in Avenue, and heavy traffic. To date, there is no house having been constructed as of now. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have public comment? Okay. And that wasn't, Tom was on the agenda last week and it was not a public comment. He was on the agenda. He's correct there. Okay. There's not any public comment or the engineer update.
Good evening, J.D. King, Page County Engineer. Despite the unseasonably, here's the engineer update, which got sent out Tuesday afternoon. From our standpoint, or from our perspective, aside from the very unseasonably warm temperatures, we're still in winter operations, cutting trees and brush. Various locations, we do not have any motor graders out, nor trucks hauling rock. We're doing some patching on pavements. AA northwest of Essex is the main one we're doing coal patching on. We're gonna end up doing some more permanent concrete patches there, even though it's a bit out of season. Shop, few things in the shop. Got one of our snowplow trucks is down with a hydraulic pump. It's PTO shaft driven, as opposed to direct mount like our most recent tandems are. And we have another truck with a rusted oil pan up in Omaha getting that replaced. And some other minor issues at the shop. Construction continues at the 190th Street Bridge. They set beams last week in the middle span. This week, yesterday, they drove piling on the west abutment. They're working on it, forming that up. And with good weather, we'll pour concrete on that abutment next week and then move to the east side. We are out of the stream should it rain. The dirt crew is also in laying pipes and working the embankments on the end spans. The highlight of the week, however, was the letting on Tuesday at the DOT for 2 of our farm to market projects. I just have information for you now. Next week, we should have the contracts in, so there'll be a couple of agenda items for that and some resolutions. If you'll turn your attention to this is not a bid tab, this is apparent bids. On the 147, that's the base stabilization and seal coat work on J55 and Teak Avenue. We had 3 bidders. This is a welcome change. 2-3 years ago, we only had 1 bidder. And Manats is apparently low at $1,230,000, 667. There's $6,000 left on the table. JB Holland was second. And there's a 3rd bid, so we look forward to that contract coming in sometime before next Thursday. The other project was a farm to market rock project. There we do have only 1 bidder. The current supplier in Southwest Iowa, Fieldberg. That turns into $28 a ton, up from $26.67. It's pretty spendy. I'd guess maybe I'll need next time I put together a new equipment list, we need probably another tractor trailer and belly dump. So we can reduce this outside stuff. A question, and we did, the technician and I went on opposite days. I was at the training yesterday. He was at the training today for federal aid work. We're moving more into federal aid. The upcoming bridges are federal aid now instead of federal aid swap. And our next base stabilization job will be a federal aid job also. Questions for the engineer update?
I got a couple. On the brush you're cutting, I've seen several places cutting brush. Are they,
Yes.
are they treating those stumps? I've looked for the dye, I said,
I don't know.
well, that has got to happen.
Now, is the sap moving?
Well, you always, you cut right when you treat it within a few hours. You should treat it every day on that brush. I didn't, thought of it as blue dye in it, so you can see what you've done and not done.
I don't know
But that's, could be counterproductive. It'll be back in a couple of years if we don't treat it. Okay, so that's one. And number 2 on that, how many is the one tandem or the one truck we have hauling rock with the semi trailer every day? How is it run with? How many days, how many tons? I mean, what would it be? Will it be running the whole time this rock haul is going on, or in other places, or
which.
when the big farm to market haul, what's it gonna be doing during that time?
Our stuff,
Yeah, you're just.
our
hauling
stuff will be
somewhere else?
doing spot rock
So they
elsewhere.
spot at the same time. What do you think?
I mean, right now I tell our guys to stay off the routes that are gonna be done with farm to market rock.
Right, because it's coming.
Correct.
So what is it, about $6 a ton, or what is the trucking rate? Is it 20, a little over for the rocks, around 20, I think, or somewhere in that ballpark? Do you know that? I don't. See how much they're getting off how many tons we're
Right,
doing to calculate what we're spending on this versus what it costs us to do it.
Mhm.
And look at that, because with one bid, like I said, that's getting pretty. What was it a couple of years ago?
26.
Looked up $2. Just something to look at. We need to study that out. Okay, any other questions on that?
Thank you.
Next week, when we come back on that treating stumps, I wanna know. I get asked that frequently and I stop by and look at them, so I wanna know remedy report on or something. Okay. That done, next up on the agenda, we have Jan Norris with, carbon pipeline update.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm Jan Norris and I live just over the line in Montgomery County. Thank you for the opportunity to update what's happening with the hazardous liquid pipeline project. My goal is always to provide helpful information and resources. The only way for you to make good decisions is to have accurate information. I appreciate our time is valuable, so I will focus the next 10 minutes on what is happening in Iowa. Just to review from my last report in November, Navigator has canceled their project. Summit announced a 2-year delay. The IUB hearing concluded, and I hope you were able to watch the testimony of our local landowners. Reply briefs have been submitted, and the IUB is in its deliberation period. No estimate has been provided on when to expect an answer, but many speculate this spring. Summit's permit application could be denied, could be issued as submitted with eminent domain, or could be issued with conditions. Whatever the outcome, it is likely to be tied up in court. Summit will need road crossing permits in each county. Perhaps they have already applied in Page County. Some counties are reviewing their policies and fee structures and using it as an opportunity to generate much needed revenue and cover future expenses. Summit is still refusing to release their plume modeling, so the public is in the dark on the threat to their homes and livestock. Water usage continues to be a huge concern, as just the initial 13 Summit capture locations could use 500 million gallons of water a year. The application for just one location was 55 million gallons annually. This could be a real problem for Shenandoah, who is already under water restriction. In the legislature, multiple bills have been presented. Some failed, some are moving forward, and some have been tied up by subcommittees refusing to hear them. Landowners are looking for help in protecting their property rights, but the pipeline companies are lobbying hard. We have to wait until the final gavel falls to know the results. Landowners finally felt heard by Representative Seek at his Emerson Town Hall after he told one he is concerned about their unfair treatment. I zoomed into the Hancock County Supervisors meeting last Monday when Summit was on the agenda to discuss why they have not paid invoices for the inspection services. In fact, a press release went out this week from the Sierra Club that stated Summit has accrued over $60,000 total. Montgomery County has also submitted bills for reimbursement. Summit declined to attend the Hancock meeting, but Inspector Snyder and Associates explained billing was per code for required administrative services. The bills were described as significant, and the supervisors asked for a grand total so they could make a budget amendment to cover it. Discussion revealed that the inspector anticipates 5 to 6 inspectors just for Hancock County alone, as 40 to 50 miles will be open at one time. They are prepared to work 7 days a week if Summit does, and reminded participants they only inspect the land restoration, not pipe installation. The audience voiced concerns about change in pipe size, sale of the easements to another company, drainage tiles, and expenses they've incurred. A supervisor brought up how important the indemnification clause is to him and the county. Please review who you intend to have as your county land restoration inspector. I believe you signed a non-binding letter of intent early on with the Summit recommended ISG. However, many counties have thought it prudent to use an independent inspector. I think I heard at least 8 counties are using Iowa-based Snyder and Associates. A CO2 pipeline is just one option for lowering carbon intensity scores. Pipelines just happen to get a jump on things, but other technology is around the corner. Cap CO2 is just one of them. It takes CO2 emissions right off the exhaust of ethanol plants and converts it to green methanol, which is highly valuable to the shipping industry. Cap CO2 and the ethanol industry are natural partners, delivering new revenues for farmers while lowering the carbon intensity score of an ethanol plant by 25 points. So why would we seize people's property by eminent domain, tear up the land, and pump CO2 into the ground when technological solutions that will be more valuable for the ethanol industry and farmers are being developed? In November, I shared with you documents obtained from the Summit application in Illinois, revealing their plume modeling. Please see the handout with a green table on it. An IUB hearing exhibit states, quote, "What we learned from the Navigator PUC hearing is that Navigator's non-worst case scenario risk modeling for an 8-inch pipeline showed a hazard distance of 1,855 feet at 40,000 parts per million concentration of CO2, end quote. The handout shows a scale of hazard levels ranking them 1 to 4. 40,000 parts per million is a level 2 hazard that poses an immediate threat to life, could cause irreversible or delayed adverse health effects, or interfere with the ability to escape. Those who live within 400 feet, like Marty Maher's tenant, are a level 4, which gives them, quote, a significant likelihood of death, end quote, in only 10 minutes. You may say, well, there's only been that one incident in Mississippi, but remember, the CCS industry has a much smaller footprint, only 5,000 miles of pipeline, which Bloomberg reports could distort its safety record and says the industry has little experience building at scale. And the Journal of Loss Prevention says leaks are the leading form of accident. Pipelines in service less than 10 years have the highest frequency and proportion of emissions, but those in service between 11 and 20 years cause the most economic loss. 2 of your handouts are maps with little dots on them, created by a volunteer who is GIS program manager for a major American city with 25 years experience. The one with more white space is a map of the Fremont-Page County route, and the one with all the little blue dots is a blow-up of the city of Shenandoah. The dotted orange line identifies a boundary 1 mile from the solid red pipeline. We used 1 mile because people up to a mile away were injured in Mississippi. So let's look at that first rural map, the outside of the city of Shenandoah. 39 homes are either a level 1 or 2. 10 homes are a level 3, and 2 are within 400 feet, that hazard level 4. So let's look at the dense map of the city of Shenandoah more closely. The blue dots are all single family dwellings, orange are multiple family residential, yellow are motels, and the green dot, I believe, is a care facility. Walmart, Hy-Vee, Fairway, and Pella are all labeled in white. This demonstrates the risk of exposure to your community should there be a release of CO2. It has been announced that Poet ethanol plants are joining the Summit project. The IUB ordered Summit would need to file a new petition for these plants, so we should anticipate them starting the process over for the new route, which will include accurate mapping and a public informational meeting like what was held at the Shenandoah Library more than 2 years ago, before landowners can be approached to sign easements, etc. Landowners need to understand their survey rights before the post office asks them to sign for a certified notice. In your handouts, I've provided a blue map showing 5 states from Summit's website, adding the Poet locations. As you can see, they show anticipating the new line heading west from the Brooks plant to intersect the main line down western Iowa. This is a change from the Navigator Phase 2 map that showed the Brooks plant line going to the north. One might assume the route is likely to head straight west across Montgomery County, but if they would choose to go just a few miles south, northern Page County could be impacted. Which brings me to the subject of ordinances. I heard Summit try to assure Dickinson County last week at their hearing that they have already considered safety when drawing their route. However, in the past, Summit has also said no plume modeling was used to do so. If safety truly was their top priority, one might assume the route would start going as far west from Green Plains first and then north. In September, the Pipeline and Hazardous Material Safety Administration clarified its authority over siting and routing, and also stated that, quote, the responsibility for siting new carbon dioxide pipelines rests largely with the individual states and counties through which the pipelines will operate and is governed by state and local law, end quote. PHMSA has completed its initial draft of new rules and submitted them for review before releasing sometime this year. I looked into the current status of the Shelby County case. Their statement says, quote, Shelby County has reviewed Judge Rose's ruling and concluded that significant errors were made with regard to the balance of authority between federal, state, and local governments. PHMSA has said, and Shelby County agrees, that all three levels of government have a role to play in pipeline safety. For that reason, Shelby County will seek further review from the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals and Federal District Court in court. The injunction canceled the January court date, and attorneys are working on briefs for the appeals case, which are due in March, but a final ruling could take 9 to 12 months. The Eighth Circuit is a 3-judge panel. Other counties have continued to work on ordinances, and some had even gone ahead and passed them. I listened to a 90-minute hearing in Dickinson County last week where they considered changing the distance from what the planning and zoning approved because the existing plant is within 2 miles of the town of Superior. They voiced concerns about passing the buck to their Board of Adjustment and ultimately chose to send the ordinance back to the planning and zoning to get more science over the objections that it would take too long and could be a moot point once the IUB makes a decision. Recently, Palo Alto County passed an ordinance along with a resolution stating it would not be enforced until legal cases were decided. Summit sued them anyway, making no reference to the resolution and even asking for the same relief in their lawsuit. The attorney who helped write their ordinance anticipates the suit should be dismissed. An article in the Denison Free Press reported on a Crawford County Supervisors meeting with their county attorney, Colin Johnson. He said his understanding of the recently approved ordinances was that those ordinances were written to de-emphasize safety and instead rely on Iowa Code 335.5, which gives local governments authority over economic development and community planning goals. Johnson referred to PHMSA's letter stating that local governments may still exercise powers granted to them under the state law as long as they don't adopt pipeline safety standards or contradict federal law. He went on to say, PHMSA also told Summit that local governments have traditionally exercised broad powers to regulate land use, including setbacks and property development in the vicinity of the pipelines. Nothing in federal law prevents local or state governments from traditional land use regulation as long as they don't attempt to regulate the safety of the pipeline. Johnson said that language seemed favorable in that it deferred some authority back to local governments. Local boards should consider plans for their area's future growth, such as city infrastructure, industrial parks, housing developments, etc. I listened to the testimony at the Iowa Utilities Board hearing about both the Charles City and the Sioux City industrial parks being impacted by the pipeline. No future buildings can be built on the easement, and some discussion of even no parking lots or access drives threaten their development. Therefore, I urge you to be proactive and please act now to preserve Page County and Shenandoah's future development and safeguard it from the impacts of multiple hazardous liquid pipelines. Work with an experienced attorney to draft a hazardous liquid pipeline ordinance to pass immediately. As Attorney Johnson advised Crawford County, quote, if the IUB were to issue a permit for Summit to build, it would likely be too late to enact an ordinance, end quote. Please do not let Page County miss this opportunity to preserve future growth. Thank you for your time and consideration. And I know it was a lot of information, but if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Any questions on that?
Thanks for all your research.
Gonna take some notes here. On the installation, the people watching that happen, but they don't watch it while it's being put in is only after it's done. But after it's buried, they come look at it to make sure it's buried. They don't check the depth.
It is the inspector's responsibility to well, there's two different inspectors. One is doing the pipeline itself, but the county inspector that you will hire only inspects the land restoration. So the putting back in of the soil. So the topsoil depths and the subsoil depths, all of that, that's what your inspector will be responsible for. And so I was happy to hear that Snyder and Associates said, we will work at every day that Summit is out there working, because I think that has been some of the complaints about ISG with the Dakota Access Pipeline project, that they weren't always on site. And of course, you know, that just helps a contractor maybe push the envelope a little bit sometimes. Technically, a landowner, if a landowner feels that the land restoration plan is not being followed, they can object and file an objection with the county supervisors. But what the fear of the landowner is, by the time that all goes through the process, it's way too late to help his land get back to what it's supposed to be.
Right.
Are they still having issues with getting either South Dakota or North Dakota, their storage facilities approved?
No sequestration sites have been approved yet.
Okay.
And so that could be a condition that the IUB could put on a permit should they approve it, is no construction in Iowa till permits in all the other counties are obtained. Because it doesn't really make sense, does it, to dig up Iowa and start laying pipe if you don't have any place to take it?
Yep.
But no, North Dakota has not approved them. South Dakota has not approved them. Nebraska has a different system. Each county chooses whether to allow a permit. And Stanton County, out by Norfolk, just voted this week to deny them a permit. And another county, can't think of the name, is having a meeting, I think, tonight to determine it. So it's not a slam dunk everywhere. And you know how much trouble Illinois gave Navigator. That's one of the reasons they quit.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you,
Thank you for all that information.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time.
Marty.
Yes, if it'd be all right, I'd have a couple of comments to add to
Yeah,
that.
what's that?
Sure.
I'm not sure what information Jan shared with you. I mean, I heard what she said, but sometimes seeing is better.
Yeah.
Should.
Oh, okay.
Stuff, it may be something different.
Yeah, she gave us something like that, but be a little different.
That may be slightly different.
Yeah.
I guess I had a couple of questions. One, do we have a fee structure in this county for road crossings?
JD was here. I don't know that. Anybody know the answer to that?
I asked him about that a while back, but he hadn't released any approvals for road crossings. Now, I don't know if we have a fee that we have to charge for that, or if they just apply and say, you know.
Well, it looks to me like it would be in the best interest of the county to have a fee for that, whether it's a gravel road or a paved road or whatever.
When they, yeah, and I don't know, like if a utility bores under a road, if we have fees for that.
There's an application now they signed.
Yeah,
That they have to
we've got-
return it to the, you know.
Since counties are never flush with money, that might be a wise idea to have. I've seen where somebody is tiling a field tile and they drill through the road, and I'm not under it, but through the vertical part of it. And you have a rut there for quite some time, and the road grader can get rid of it. Potawatomi County doesn't allow that. So I would think a fee structure would be appropriate to have in line for Page County. Back in November, I believe, Tim Whipple was, that attorney's outfit was asked to check your ordinances to see if there was ordinances that would deal with the pipeline. Have you heard anything from that?
I remember all these different things, times we talked. We talked to him. Some things happened with
And
how this pipeline's going. I can't remember every stage of what happened.
I was thinking the last time we spoke about it was that we were putting it on hold because we were waiting to see what happened with Shelby County.
Right.
And then, I think Shelby County still up in the air?
Well, as Jan said,
Yeah.
they're still embroiled in a lawsuit, but it looks like they're on much thinner ice. As she said, the PHMSA, the report, I don't know if she shared a copy of that with you, she read it. But September the 15th of 2023, the Department of Transportation Pipeline Hazard Material Safety Administration sent a letter to Mr. Lee Blank, the CEO of Carbon Solutions, stating what Jan had said. There's an actual copy of the letter that was given to Summit Carbon. So the idea that PHMSA regulates the siting of the pipeline is a farce. They do not regulate the siting. They said so in that document. They said it's up to the counties and the state to do that. So you have the right. And that is obviously what Shelby County is banking on in their lawsuit. And when it comes to safety, I understand that the CEO of POET made some comment on KMA here, or maybe perhaps it was a letter to the editor about how safe this was. Well, they don't exactly have a very good safety track record in this CO2 business. There's only about 5,000 miles of CO2 pipeline in the United States. And over a 10-year period from 2011 to 2021, they had 61 releases of CO2. Now, fortunately, those are in West Texas and very deserted areas that didn't cause much damage. But that amounts to one release for every 82 miles of pipeline. That's not a great safety record in my estimation. And as Jan said, my residence up there in Page County is in the kill zone. This thing has a 300 or 400 foot kill zone. Well, it's actually a 600 foot, 300 foot, 320 on either side for that side's of pipeline. And as she also said, you have a hazard level 2 of close to a mile on either side, which would cause great damage to anybody that happens to be in that. For the sake of the current and the future development of Page County, would you please act? Get something in place so that the citizens of the county, the cities in the county will be protected in case something like this comes through again. You've got Montgomery County up there that came this close to passing an ordinance and they stonewalled. Well, now, as she said, they've got another pipeline coming from the east and going to the west, and they got one from the south to the north. And it's going to impact several of their cities. So I would urge you to please act on this.
With all that, okay, well, look, I'm happy to look at it again with all the things that have happened in the last few months. We can inquire again and see what.
I think we were advised not to do anything until all of this was,
Right.
otherwise be involved in another lawsuit.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
So we want to do the right thing, whether it's a lawsuit or
Right.
not.
And you can wait, that's obviously one option. But as they said, if PHMSA comes out, or excuse me, if the IUB comes out with its ruling and you don't have anything in place, you can't put anything in place at that point. So you have to do something in advance
Right.
if you're going to do something for your county.
Right.
You can't wait till after the IUB makes its decision.
Right. We can reach out, I'd reach out again to Shelby County. I'd sit on a board with a guy from Shelby County.
Okay, thank you.
Visit them
Yep.
again. Well, thank you for all the information. Okay. Next up on the agenda is resolution 61, declaring emergency medical services, EMS, an essential service in Page County. We've done this once. We need to do that in 3 meetings, correct? So this just is to declare it essential, and then I can go to the ballot for people to decide.
Yep, I suppose we need to just.
Make a
do we
motion.
Make a motion, for the second approval of resolution 61-2023, declaring emergency medical services an essential service in Page County.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion and a second, no discussion. You guys presented last week. Many people, many members in the public here in support of that. Anybody want to say anything? We good? All right, that was good last week. Vote please, Kristen.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, got number 2 done. Thank you guys for all being here. Well, then we jump up to number 8, fiscal sponsorship agreement. I sent that out in an email, got this from the Foundation, Southwest Iowa Community Foundations. Did you guys have a chance to look at that and see that? It just wants me to sign that, I think. I want to make sure we're good with it and also want to, we're signing a sponsor letter.
I'll move that the boards or the chairman sign the fiscal sponsorship agreement for Community Foundations of Southwest Iowa for the Page County Conservation Board.
Second.
Yes, go ahead.
My name's Scott Brown. I'm on the Page County Community Foundation,
Okay.
an affiliate of the Southwest Iowa Community Foundations. It's the first I've heard of it, because when I saw it in the agenda tonight,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're asking for. I'd like to see what they're asking for.
Okay, I mean, it's, it says we're. Do you have the information there? What I have here on what we're signing is, we're the fiscal sponsor.
I think just to apply for a grant.
They wanted to apply for a grant and we are basically sponsoring that. I think to act as the money will run through
Right.
us. So we're just handling if they get the grant. Correct?
Or a grant that's given to Page County.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it goes through,
Yes.
through the county.
For our conservation project.
And we're saying that's okay to do that.
And this is
It's for river
actually,
access, yeah.
yeah, it's for the river access behind the conservation, building out there.
Yeah, they're applying for a grant for the river access
I understand.
camping area.
Yes.
So,
Okay,
but I
thanks.
threw it on here because they sent it to me in an email. I want everybody to,
I think, didn't John talked about
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
they're working right behind the
Well, I have
building.
absolutely no problem with it. I'm
Yeah.
just a little surprised that, since we're the entity that's approving those grants, we haven't heard anything about it.
Right.
The
Well,
first I've heard about it was reading it in the agenda today.
Yeah. I got an email on this and sent it to the others and thought we would just talk about it and approve me signing it. So,
All right, thank you.
yeah, thank you. So it's for the river access behind conservation building. They're working on a camping area. So this is for.
And
applying for a
we may
grant.
not even get it, but just to say that we'll be a sponsor.
They go through the board here,
Yeah.
so they need a signature to send back in to meet some of their IRS and qualification things.
So I think Judy made a motion. I'll second.
Todd seconded the motion for this, to sign this and send it back to him. Any discussion on that? If not, we'll vote on it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, I'll sign that. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have the additional library funding, which we talked about last week.
I would like to see us give the libraries the additional $6,050 for the next fiscal year. I think they do a terrific job and I think that we need to support it if possible. And I did talk to Melissa and she thinks we can find that. I did ask you guys a little while ago about the Fair Board. I can't remember why we jumped so fast on that one and gave them an additional $20,000. I know they have some projects going,
I
but
think it was 16.5.
Well,
16.5 is what it was
Yeah.
before.
What I remember, it was,
That's what we gave them.
We do that,
Additional
that's
65.
normally.
yeah, that's the
Oh,
that was
initial,
their
what it's
normal.
been. In the
Okay.
discussion during that, there was, the total dollars we had to work with. That was the remainder of what was left.
And that's, we just,
I think we assigned what was left,
Okay,
as we were
okay.
told. That was,
okay,
and it seemed to be the number of what they were asking. I think that's how it came to be.
okay.
I don't, and then,
But if we can find the $6,050, I think we need to give that to the libraries. I think,
I was trying to look at the funds held.
How much-
Balances we have.
How much over
We can't really.
what
say
we
that.
are already required to give, do we give? to the
a little
library?
bit, I don't think I got
can't
that.
remember exactly how much.
What are we supposed to do?
Uh,
7.5? Are we 6%? What is it says minimum, state minimum 0.0675. And we're at 0.075. 0.075. So, what am I doing that math right there?
We give them, $4,000 more than we're required to right now. But they're asking that we go from the 39,950, which I think we've been at for a while.
The year
To
before.
go to the 46,000, which would be $6,050 more.
The library, what am I here? No. It was 34,000 and 21, 22. 34, it'd been 34. We jumped it to 39 in 22, 23, and then kept it that in 23, 24. So, yeah, it'll be the second year
Been for a while.
The libraries do, they had so many people go through their doors, it was almost unbelievable
Right.
last year. So they are something to support. That's over the whole county.
I would make a
But
motion that
do
we
we-
give the libraries $6,050 more in the current, or in the, coming fiscal year.
Of local
25.
option sales tax.
Wherever we can find it, yeah.
Cause that's what I was looking at. Where do we
Yes.
have? So is a motion wherever, or is it local?
Where, I'd say wherever we can find it.
Okay. Have a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to, do we have that in local option sales tax?
I'm not sure it's exactly there. Maybe some things could be moved around, but, I believe we can find it. And I would really like to see that done, so. I think they've reached over and above in what they're
Yeah.
doing with the public.
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't want to make sure where we're getting it from, I guess.
Right.
So that we're not,
I don't think we're gonna hurt anything or anyone otherwise.
Where's the money gonna come from? Which budget would we get it from?
It may be out of local option. I think they're just gonna have to do a little bit more figuring, but she thought she could find it, so.
Need to find this drawer that that's in.
I know, I know.
Cause it's right here, so I was. I need to look back at, I think we voted on that. I mean,
On what?
on the,
On the 20,000?
yeah,
The extra
I
20,000?
think we did. Need to go back over that.
Yeah,
Maybe should, we learn every year on this. Do a hope, and then at the end, before we finalize it, really look at everybody, we could then slide a little around if we need to adjust it, because that community betterment's the perfect place to do the libraries and the
exactly.
fair board.
Yes,
It's
yes.
a fairs for the whole county too.
yes,
yeah,
So it's the perfect spot to fund it, and it's what we're supposed to do with that money.
exactly.
So that's what I was trying to
It's
study.
extra tax money, so, I mean, it's
Right, it's
local
obligated,
option tax
the
money, yeah,
people voted for that to be spent 40% of it on community betterment.
right.
So I was trying to do that, trying to find the money here. Now, money can't be saved in that one, it can be saved in the infrastructure. You know, our funds held will be in the infrastructure line, but I don't think, if I remember what we were talking about, I don't think we can save up money.
Well, you can save it, it's just.
It's gotta be for a project.
Yeah. And there may be some left over from last year, whatever, I'm not sure.
Well,
But when I did talk to Melissa, it sounded like, it would be something that we could do. And that maybe some things could be
Shifted around.
shifted around, yes.
well, how about, we got a motion and we're all fine with helping the libraries out, but can we look at it next week if she finds it, where it's gonna come from? So, or do you want a second?
Yeah.
I don't, I'm just,
I mean, can we do that? I mean,
We can do
I'll be
whatever.
happy.
Okay, can we do it? I'll just change the motion
I'll-
pending
Yes,
that we find.
yep,
Yeah.
I
That we'll
will support
approve
it pending, yes, I will support the motion.
pending from.
Pending
community
that we
betterment.
find it, yeah.
Pending that we find
Yes.
where the money's gonna come
Okay.
from.
So we'll see if we can hunt it in the community betterment, local option sales tax. Okay. So got that motion pending that it's, can be found in there.
Yep,
A second,
second,
so, discussion. We'll see what money is available, and if it's there, we can apply that to the libraries.
Okay, wanna
Let's
vote on it?
vote on that, I guess. Well, we have motion and second.
yes,
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 okay.
it would be an extra $6,050. That's what they've asked for.
39.
Yeah, oh yeah, that
Standard
was there, yeah,
It was an increase, the word
Yeah.
increase, I guess.
yeah,
yes.
Split over all
yes.
the libraries.
Yes.
So if we can, so maybe next week we'll look at where the funds came from, see if they're there. See what it is.
Right.
If not, we'll look around. Okay. So we got that taken care of. Next up, solar ordinance.
I just asked that that be put on there because I think we need to start working on that.
It's time. I need to work on it.
So,
The budgets are
the
pretty
information that was given to us when they were here,
Yeah.
before, they included the Mills and Fremont, solar ordinances, which everybody seems to think are really good. So if we could study those and then put it on the agenda next week again and.
Sounds good.
That
move
sounds
forward.
good to me.
Okay.
It's time. We're just, budgets are wrapping up. It's time to work on that.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so we can do that next week. We'll look over those, see if what we think could be applied to Page County. Anything else on that? We'll just start it. Be good to do that.
Yep.
Board of communication, sorry.
I had a SWIPCO meeting today. So,
I had yesterday with Council Bluffs for the, juvenile attention, and I have an email. I'll try to remember to forward that of our days and everything for the year. And it's our days, they do it over a 5-year average, and we dropped off a year of like, I can't remember the number, 50 days of a juvenile up there, and we went to hundreds of days. So it's, I'm just trying to say, there's nothing we can do about this.
No,
But,
you have to pay it no
but just
matter
for the,
Yeah.
now there were some other counties that had huge increases also in the days they had, so it could have been a lot worse, because then we would have been, they do it by days, they sort each county what they pay.
Right.
Of the budget, so I'm just saying it's gonna be higher than it was, and I'll have that numbers, they just projected all that out, I can try to send. And all that needs it to, I don't think probably send it to him, I don't know, but.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'm just saying that we have had a lot of, a few people there, young, juvenile in the detention center for a lot of days, more than it has been anywhere I can see on 5 years, so. So that is something we need to look at the numbers on that.
And we have no choice,
Yeah, that's something we can't handle, I'm just
no,
throwing that out there, so you know what's going on.
right?
Um,
And I didn't have anything this week as far as, meetings.
okay. Okay, did we have claims? I didn't see any, no claims?
no questions.
All right, got the minutes here. 13. Todd handed me some here, and then I have some here too. The word, which is true, when it talks about Tom Wagner's comment, as he said, then it says public comment, it was maybe presentations.
So where, I'm looking at,
You see that?
no, because
It's
I
down at the
was,
bottom of the first page.
now, yeah, so he gave,
A presentation or something, he was on the agenda. Presentation.
okay,
is the
so
word
it
comes
wasn't
later.
really public comment.
Yeah, so I just thought presentation
Okay.
fit that better, and it was not in public comment. About the roads, and then
Right.
after that, all the information, just as we try to do, is what he believes. I mean, he did state things, but it's a presentation about the roads. That's what he did, and then it's all on video. I think just change the word public comment to presentation. That's all I did there. It says gave public comment. I just wrote presentation. Does that sound make sense? I mean, that's true. It was a presentation.
Yep.
And then after that, the rest of that was just, commentary. So here, these look the same. I just added that word presentation. So here's one that's front and back here. We don't have all the copies. There's a bunch of copies. We'll look at that and then hand it over there if you want. If it passes here, the DC is same as what you had.
Yeah, I can see it.
So at the end of the minutes where there's no minutes were passed out, all the extra information about rewritten down to where it says February 1st minutes, that first line. Strike that as that's not part of it. Other than that, that's it. Everything else is fine. I thought that's what you had too, so. Have a motion, entertain a motion on the amended minutes.
Make a motion that we pass the amended minutes for Iowa Code
Information board.
Information Board.
All right, guidelines. Okay, I'll second that motion. Discussion on that, we'll vote. If we're not,
Yes.
No,
yes. Okay. And then Next thing is to adjourn, if we're all good in here. Everybody's
Make a
good, we'll
motion.
adjourn. Todd made the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Judy seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned. Thanks for coming.